Welcome in. Good evening, bench warmers. You are on the far end of the bench YouTube channel, if you do not know that already. And we are here live on a Sunday night to talk about the first weekend of the NFL playoffs, formerly known as Super Wildcard Weekend. The NFL has since dropped the Super. We don't know that these games are any better than any of the other ones, even though we're going to talk about it. These games were some of the most competitive that we have seen in a very long time. All of the games, except for the New England game that ended up Sunday night, ended within one score, and that game was within one score for quite a long time. Have notes on all of the different games. We're going to go in chronological order, so we have a great time scheduled for everybody. Make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel at FEOTB Pod is where you can follow us. That's where you can find the clips. Our new episodes drop on Thursdays. That is where you can hear Nico and I talking about the game that's going to come up Monday night, and you'll also be able to hear his thoughts because, again, I'm only one half of this amazing, stellar podcast that you found and hopefully are subscribed to. And if you're not subscribed already, you should go ahead and do that. Subscribe. Boomer wants you to subscribe. He's back there licking his paws because nobody will subscribe. And we want more and more people to get involved and jump down in the comments. I'm sure if you're a fan of one of the teams that lost today or won, you're going to have opinions to share, and you may or may not agree with my opinion. So make sure that you jump down in the comments and let us know what you think. But we're going to get started with the first game of the weekend. This one took place Saturday afternoon. The number 5 seed Los Angeles Rams going to Charlotte to play the number 4 seed Carolina Panthers. The best way to describe this game was not that the Rams won and dominated like a lot of people were predicting, including Las Vegas. So if you had the Rams at the -10 or -10.5 mark, I apologize for disrespecting the Carolina Panthers, the NFC South division champions. Who cares if they back their way into it? No, I get it. I said on our podcast this week, most recently, that I thought the Rams were going to absolutely dominate, and they had one of the better paths to make their way through. I thought that they had a good chance with the way I had things working out. They would have been taking on Seattle in the second round, but now obviously that matchup is going to change, but I kind of like their matchup against the Bears even better. I had that matchup coming up in the NFC Championship instead of the divisional round, but we'll talk about how those things are going to be shaking out. Not necessarily preview any of the games coming up, but we can talk about the matchups. 34-31 is the final score. Bryce Young and Teteroa McMillan had career days. Bryce Young proved once again he can be competitive in a playoff situation. This is his first playoff action since 2020 when his Alabama Crimson Tide, along with Devontae Smith, were able to go out and win the national championship and defeat the Ohio State Buckeyes and the 14 playoff in that season. This is not a reassuring performance, and if I'm a Los Angeles Rams fan, I definitely walk away with a lot more concerns than I am excited about having won and moving on. It's always great to advance, and you never want your season to end, which it was very close to doing, but it is a gritty win, not necessarily a win that you look at and say our talent is shining through and our players are playing at the highest level. There was a lot of mistakes. Looking at some of the players that were making plays, Stafford put the team on his back, put on his Superman cape like we used to see in Detroit. He finished 24 of 42, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, including his game winner that he threw with 38 seconds left. 1 interception on the day that kind of kept the Panthers in things. Nakua had 10 catches, 111 yards, a receiving and a rushing touchdown, so he's getting involved. And Colby Parkinson, the tight end, steps in and he gets 2 catches, including the game winner with the one that was mentioned with 38 seconds left. So the Rams did have production. Obviously, they scored 34 points, but their defense gave up quite a few to the Panthers, who everybody was expecting to be outclassed in this one. Teteroa McMillan, I think, stated his case that he should be and will probably be the offensive rookie of the year. And Bryce Young now makes things a little bit more uncomfortable in Carolina. Young finished 21 of 40, 264 yards, a touchdown and interception, and a 24-yard rushing score. McMillan had 5 catches for 81 yards. The big name that kind of showed out in this one for Carolina was Coker. He had 9 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown, and they scored on their last 4 of 6 drives. So did Bryce Young prove enough that you're willing to stake a second quarterback contract on him? That's going to be the conversation in Charlotte, and it would be interesting to get the perspective of somebody who lives out in Carolina. As I'm thinking about it now, it worked this year, and it seems like things are moving in the right direction because everybody is on their cheap deal. With Bryce Young coming up on his 5th year in the league, I believe, I'm not entirely sure if they've picked up his 5th year option, but if they haven't, now you're going to be trying to or having to invest more money, even though this has been his only successful season? Is this a situation where maybe you're taking big swings in free agency, possibly trying to get a trade for some draft capital that you send out in return for a quarterback that you think Dave Canales can use in this system because he's going to have a stud receiving target in Tedoroa McMillan? I still really like Xavier Legette. I do like Jalen Coker. That defense will need help, but that is what this team is doing. What they did this year is probably a year ahead of schedule for what a lot of people believed. And honestly, everybody thought that this was going to be the worst division and it was going to be Tampa's to lose. Even though they lost to Tampa in the last game of the season, they were in a position that they still won. So it's a bittersweet end to the season, but it honestly feels a lot better than most think about the last 3 seasons and the way that they ended for the Carolina Panthers. This has to be something that you look forward to. I think the Rams are going to be benefited from being reminded that the playoffs are not guaranteed. You can't just throw out any performance and expect to win. You are going to have to play the best that you can. I think the defense is going to do a lot better moving forward next week in their matchup against Chicago. Now it's going to be, again, you're going to have to try and hold on and win at the end of the game. Chicago will allow you to dominate them for a big portion of the game next week. But if you find yourself in these situations, are you going to have the grit and the determination to overcome a team that's already very comfortable in one-score games that are late and moving forward, beating teams that are probably more talented and better than they are? So the Rams get the win 34-31 in the opening wild card game. The second game of the weekend was on Amazon Prime. It was the Thursday Night Football broadcast. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit for the final time this season broadcasting us a game into our homes. The Bears, Cardiac Bears, strike again. 18-point comeback in the last quarter stage of the game. They outscore Green Bay 25-6 in the fourth quarter, and the Packers are now reeling. They were already disappointed not winning the division, allowing Chicago to come back and win the NFC North. And now in a situation where Matt LaFleur once again had the lead, had every right to win that game. There is no reason that Chicago Bears should have been in a situation to come back. Yet we sit here and we talk about a disappointing playoff performance from the Green Bay Packers behind Matt LaFleur in a situation where they were more talented. Their team dominated a majority of the game, yet you still allow that last quarter comeback. And this time it's down 18. They're not the first team this season. Obviously, we talked about the Broncos against the Giants. There's been other teams that made heroic comebacks at the end of the game, but not in playoff situations and not against the same team twice in the same month. The Packers, standouts, Jordan Love, 24-46, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns. Really good first half. Disappeared completely, almost entirely in the second half, and only was able to lead field goal drives in the fourth quarter. They led 21-3 at halftime and 27-16 after Matthew Golden's touchdown in the second half. Brandon McManus, the special teams, when you have issues going into the playoffs, they do not get remedied magically. They actually get exacerbated, and that is what we saw. Brandon McManus, 0 for 2 on field goals, plus a mixed extra point. If you're keeping track at home, that is 7 points off the board that Brandon McManus missed, and they outgained Chicago until the fourth quarter when the momentum totally flipped. The Bears, Caleb Williams, 24-48 for 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Absolute ice in his veins when he was down 18 points in the fourth quarter. Maybe they should start down 18 in the first, and the Bears might actually come back and be able to dominate after they are down for quite a bit of time. This is the second comeback against Green Bay in a month. DJ Moore, once again, the game-winning touchdown. He scored this one with 1:43 left. Colston Loveland's coming out party in the second half, 137 yards, and was the go-to target from the third quarter on. And they outscored, again, the Packers 25-6 in the fourth quarter. Ben Johnson, using this momentum, he said it. He loved beating Matt LaFleur twice. I don't know what that rivalry is or where it comes from, but now he was able to do so. 2 out of 3 against his biggest rival, and they are set to host the Los Angeles Rams in the second round of the playoffs in the 2-5 matchup. So that'll be an exciting one. We'll break that down more on the upcoming episode. The number 7 seed Packers get upset by the number 2 seed Bears. The Bears win 31-27 in Chicago. On to our first Sunday matchup. This one now in the AFC. The number 6 seed Bills ride Josh Allen to a last-second win in Jacksonville over the number 3 seed Jaguars, 27-24. It ends the Jaguars' very good 13-4 season with their first-year head coach. Liam Cohen becomes one of a handful of people to lead a team to 13 victories in his first season. They won the AFC South, and Liam Cohen did outcoach Sean McDermott but they still were bailed out by Josh Allen. He is probably the greatest player in the NFL, especially with the lack of talent that we have around him. We talk about it a lot with Nikola Jokic, but when you are the straw that stirs the drink, your team literally cannot do anything else without you putting your Superman suit on, going into the phone booth and coming out and leading the team, then you are definitely the most valuable player. It may go to Drake May, but honestly, this is a season that's proving Josh Allen is the best and most valuable player to his team in the entire NFL. Josh Allen finishes with 28 of 35, 273 yards, one passing and two rushing touchdowns. No turnovers, 10-yard tush push on the final game-winning drive that set up the go-ahead score, and in turn gave the ball back to the Jaguars, who then gave it back to the Bills on the very first play, interception that ended things. Shahir was the leading target, 12 catches for 82 yards. So for everybody that said that the Bills lack a receiving weapon, Khalil Shakir was trying to do his best to try and stifle those remarks. Brandon Cooks gets a big 36-yard catch to set up the game-winning touchdown at the very end. They ended with 79 yards rushing, which is their season low, but that is very intense when they could beat a team that's as talented as Jacksonville and having their worst rushing performance, which is what this team relies on. They don't really throw the ball very well. They did ride Josh Allen, like I said, but this was a gritty victory, just kind of like how we talked about with the Rams. And now they move forward into a very favorable matchup. They're going to be coming to Denver. It's going to be a tough place to play, but we all know that Josh Allen has a special hatred in his heart for John Elway not picking him back in his draft class, and he wanted to play here. He went to Wyoming. He was from the region and a fan of the team. He is going to try and put on his best performance once again and drag this team into a conference championship. Everybody says it. This is the year for the Bills to win because there is no Joe Burrow. There is no Lamar Jackson. There is no Patrick Mahomes. You just have to now beat Bo Nix and the number 1 seed Denver Broncos. And then from there, who knows what's going to happen in that Patriots and Texans/Steelers matchup for the conference championship at that point. The Jaguars, led by Trevor Lawrence, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, played well at times, led a couple of very efficient drives, but ultimately his mistakes were their own undoing. Parker Washington, really huge game for him, 107 yards and a touchdown. They, like I said, finished 13-4, AFC South champs, but this is not going to feel good because I want everybody to picture last season in the NFC with the Washington Commanders and how great of a season they had. Everything changes very quickly in the NFL. You're not going to have the same personnel. Trevor Lawrence did very well, but he still has a lot of room to grow and needs to make sure that he can come through in big moments. This game had 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen, after being battered and bruised, injuries and all, able to go in, save his coach for now. If they do lose before the Super Bowl, I think that Sean McDermott still has questions lingering about his status in Buffalo. He was outcoached by Liam Cohen, but the final nail in the coffin, Sean McDermott's quarterback made 0 mistakes. Liam Cohen's quarterback made 2 gigantic mistakes. The Bills walk away with a 27-24 victory and move on to go play the number 1 seed Broncos in the divisional round. The middle game that I think ended up stunning quite a few people, especially everybody that lives in and around the city of Philadelphia. Lock your doors. Make sure the poles are greased. There's going to be a lot of angry people. If you are in Kevin Patullo's neighborhood, make sure that you make a sign that says you are not the Patullo residents, because everybody is going to get egged if they can't figure out which house that it is, because that was not good. Makeshift personnel. George Kittle goes down with an Achilles injury. It's the last time that we're going to see him this season. Unfortunate, as he's one of the heartbeats of the entire NFL and definitely one of the heartbeats of this team, but they were able to still get it done. They prevail. They set up a rematch. Second time in 3 weeks that they're going to be playing Seattle. Remember, they just played in Week 18 for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Seattle was able to win 13-3. They also played Week 1 of this season. 49ers won that one 17-3. So both teams have success against the other. What we saw from Kyle Shanahan today was just you out-schemed the defense, you put them in bad situations, and the Eagles' offense from the second half on, it's always been inconsistent. What we said about the special teams of the Packers is true for what we were saying about the Eagles. When you're inconsistent on offense, when your players would rather throw fits and cause issues online instead of making the plays that you give them and drop open passes that would have given you who knows what kind of advantage, but you probably would have been in a better situation. I'm talking to you, AJ Brown. You're just not able to put up points. You give up a lot more points in the second half than you did in the first half. Your defense just can't withstand trying to hold up and be the sole leader. We saw it when they beat Buffalo. That game came down to be very close, and Josh Allen had every right to win that game in the rain. And now it just catches up to them, and they get beat by a hampered 49ers team. Robert Salah deserves a lot of credit for the defensive game plan that he came up with, but this Eagles offense was destined to do this from almost the beginning of the season. If Patullo is not fired before I go to bed tonight, I would be very surprised. Not sure who they're going to bring in afterwards. Maybe Coach Capri Pants, Mike McDaniel. He's probably going to have to step down and be a coordinator for a little bit. Stat-wise, Purdy, 262 yards. Also, with that, watch episode 262 of the Far End of the Bench, our most recent episode. That one has been getting a lot of rave reviews. Make sure that you like and subscribe if you're not already on the channel. He had one touchdown that he threw late to Christian McCaffrey. He did not have a great night, but he nutted up in his Wranglers when it counted, and he led his team down in the biggest situation, was able to outduel Jalen Hurts and send Philadelphia fans home very unhappy. Christian McCaffrey, 2 rushing touchdowns late. He was keeping the pressure on Philadelphia all night. They were using him very smartly, I would say, keeping him off the field unless it's a big situation for the most part. And then once he's in, he's able to be fresh and run all over the opposing defense. Robinson also steps up late on the outside. The receiving room is very depleted. He was able to give them a lot of positive momentum moving forward. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts, he had drops for play calling that was going against him, but you are the quarterback. Wins and losses are attributed to you because you make the most money. You only lead 2 field goal drives in the second half. That is not playoff winning football. You are a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You are a Super Bowl MVP. This was a very down season for you and a lot of other people on your offense. Goddard was the best offensive weapon, most consistent, 2 big plays down the stretch late, and he also had 2 touchdowns in the first half. They failed on a 4th down and 11 conversion to lose the game. Now we wonder what drastic measures Howie Roseman is about to take, because we know he likes to turn over rosters. He'll like to turn over the front office. He is going to get an offensive coordinator that he thinks he can be successful with and try and pair him, I believe, with his quarterback. I don't know what the status of A.J. Brown is going to be, but if I'm Nick Sirianni, if I am Howie Roseman, I'm going to Jeffrey Lurie and saying we need to get rid of this guy. We're at the risk of turning into Buffalo with Stephon Diggs. Now, maybe he's going to go off and be great somewhere else. You did what you needed to with him. You won your championship. I think it's just too much at this point. Jalen Hurts doesn't want to deal with it. Devontae Smith is tired of being the quiet receiver. I don't think that he's going to become a problem himself, but I think he's probably over being the one that everybody compares A.J. Brown to, and I think this relationship is at the end of its rope. It'll be interesting to see where he plays next year. Maybe he'll come to Cincinnati and replace T. Higgins and make this offense even that much more explosive. Look, I can dream, right? The 49ers win 23-19 over the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. The Northeasters and the Massholes are going to be very happy with the performance of their squad. The Patriots get their first playoff victory in 7 years. It's been since 2019, their Super Bowl against the Los Angeles Rams, when they stymied that McVay and Goff-led offense of Los Angeles. That was the last time that they had won a playoff game with Tom Brady at quarterback, and now Drake May is a playoff winning quarterback in his first career start. They were able to do the things that they needed to. They showed that their system, they don't need to be flashy. They did a lot of their blowing out of bad teams in the regular season. I don't know if they could have probably blown out the Chargers. This team specifically, I think they probably had a chance to, because of the way that the injuries have worked out, and Justin Herbert was clearly not going to be able to do anything against the Patriots defense. But they just did what they had to do and then closed things out at the end with the running games, got the first downs that they needed to, controlled the clock. What they proved is that they have a system that's built for January. And if they just continue to put this out consistently, it's hard-pressed for me to see anybody that they are going to struggle with up until they have to possibly go on the road, unless Buffalo can take care of business in the upcoming weekend. The Patriots still don't know who they're going to be playing. They have the winner of the Monday night game between Houston and Pittsburgh. We'll talk about the other games that we know, the matchups that are coming up, and a little bit about each of them. The Patriots, statistics-wise, May was 17 of 29 for 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Very controlled and calm. Looked like he was cool under the pressure of his first playoff start and was making plays with his legs. showing off his athleticism. People forget he was a point guard and did play a lot of basketball, so he has that explosive athleticism to him. Kind of, I would say, similar to how people viewed Fernando Mendoza. They don't see him as an athlete, but he can move and he can hurt you with his legs. Ramondre Stevenson led the way on the ground, 69 yards rushing, averaged 9.9 yards a carry. His production wasn't great carry-wise, but every carry that he got was a body blow that just slowly wore down the Chargers' best weapon, which was their defensive line. In the end of the game, they had no response for them. Hunter Henry gets 3 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. He was the only touchdown of the game that came in the fourth quarter. Borealis, 3 of 3 for field goals. He scored the most points on the night, and the defense as a whole held the Chargers to just 3 points. Herbert finishes 11 of 19 for 93 yards. He's added this performance to a list of playoff disappointments, and he was absolutely destroyed the entire night. He's clearly hurt. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh loves him as much as he does. I had a feeling he was going to pull him because he just didn't want to see a guy get beaten up that much. Like, that was a little bit it was overkill. I feel like there was a little bit much going on. I didn't enjoy that as thoroughly as I wanted to. Vidal, 9 carries, 56 yards. He was the best offensive player of the night for the Chargers. Their defense, while they weren't giving up huge plays and didn't give up a lot of points, they just weren't able to make the big plays in the big moments and couldn't hold off the Patriots the way that they needed to. Injuries can be the cause of this season, but the Chargers started off in a situation where they were going to be the ones to take over the AFC West from the Chiefs. That did not happen. The Broncos ended up winning your division. You were the very last seed into the AFC playoffs, and you are added to the list of 7 seeds who have yet to upset the 2 seed. So expanding the playoffs gives us better matchups at the end of the season. These were all very competitive games for the most part, but the offense and the way that the injuries worked out, this was a statement made by the Patriots. First game that they've won since 2019. If they can play this way, they will go very far in this upcoming games of the postseason. The divisional round games that we know about. The number 6 seed Buffalo Bills going on to play the number 1 seed Denver Broncos in Mile High Stadium and Power Field at Mile High. This is the ultimate test of whether talent can overcome collective greatness. Denver's defense, if they want to prove that they are for real, they will do everything in their power not to just cage rush, like we heard Sean Payton say a couple weeks ago. They need to shut down, bottle up the best player in the NFL, Josh Allen, and see if they can make sure that their team is able to just score enough. I feel like they're going to probably try and do something similar to what we saw from the Patriots. Bo Nix and the Broncos offense had 2 very bad weeks against the backups of the Chiefs and a third-string quarterback, Chris Olajuwon, on Christmas night. They did not play well against the backups for the Chargers in Week 18. You're still the 1 seed. You still have home field advantage. I know that the energy is going to be a huge advantage for the Broncos, but you do still have to prove it on the field. The number 6 seed 49ers and the number 1 seed Seattle Seahawks. Seattle got their rest. San Francisco has their scar tissue. One is going to matter more in January. Is it going to be the momentum that San Francisco was able to gain, knowing that they have possibility of playing a championship in their home stadium if they can make it through 2 more rounds of the playoffs? Or is it simply Seattle's defense, one of the best in the league outside of the Texans and the Broncos? Is this just going to be too much for a team that now lost their number 1 tight end, already lost their number 1 and number 2 receivers? You have a quarterback, you have a running back, and you do have a defense with a pretty good scheme and coordinator. At some point, that's just not going to be enough. I feel like the Seahawks are going to be able to overcome that one. We'll talk more about that on Thursday. Next game, the number 5 seed Rams going to Chicago to play the Cardiac Bears. The Bears are riding momentum. The Rams are riding Stafford's cape. It's a matter of whose light will go out first. Everybody knows, if you listened to last week's episode, who I'm rooting for. I have the Rams winning my Super Bowl. So with our playoff points, we're going to talk about where the playoff picks are at the moment. If I want any chance of winning, the Rams cannot lose and the Broncos cannot lose. So I have a lot riding on this upcoming weekend. The Patriots, as we mentioned, will host the winner of number 5 seed Houston and number 4 seed Pittsburgh. Houston, obviously the number 1 defense in the NFL, scoring-wise, point-wise, and intimidation-wise. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. make that team just a nightmare for anybody to consider going up against. And the Steelers have the worst defense that are left in the entire playoffs. Lots of great matchups upcoming. Our playoff point tracker. So Saturday, I got 4 points. I picked both games correctly. Nico picked 1 out of 2 correctly. So the Saturday mark was 4-2 in my favor. Today, I only got 1 game correct. That was the Patriots over the Chargers. Nico went a perfect 3 for 3. He picked the Jaguars going down to the Bills. He picked the Rams beating the or not the Rams. He picked the 49ers beating the Eagles, and he also picked the Patriots. Or actually, I have to change this. We are tied at 6 points each because he only got 4 points today. He picked the Chargers over the Patriots. I got to double check that. Oh, producing on the fly. Solo shows are hard, but you guys are rocking with me. I appreciate it. Please, 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 like I mentioned, subscribe to the channel. Oh, no. Yeah, he did have – I had it right. I wanted to think that he picked the Chargers, but again, why would he pick an AFC West rival? So he had 6 points on the day for the Sunday games. Totals for the wild card weekend, he leads by 2 points, 8-6. Like we mentioned, next week, if the Broncos or the Rams go down, it's going to be very difficult for me to come back. But right now it is competitive. This thing goes quickly, so make sure you're tuning in. Watch the clips, subscribe, like the videos. Let us know what you think about what we thought in the comments. I made quite a few notes going through and getting ready for today's episode, so I hope that you enjoyed this little live show post wildcard weekend here on the Far End of the Bench channel. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, my normal co-host Nico Bryant, we will see you guys Thursday for our normal episodes where we'll get more into the divisional matchups and recap the wildcard games that we saw. Plus, we'll have a national championship in college football to discuss. At FEOTB Pod on all socials. We will see you guys Thursday.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.